All right, we are back, Casino Guitars. I'm Jonathan. Thanks for tuning in again. It's been a few weeks, but we're back with another lesson. I think we talked last time a little bit about triads and triad clusters and all that kind of fun stuff. And I think we said in the comments that we would do a lesson on sort of connecting those pentatonic scales or scales in general to the triads. So before we go any farther, custom shop strat, obviously, Tone Master Pro on the floor. Think we've pretty much covered all that, so nothing's changed. But yeah, let's jump right into it. So last time we talked a little bit about these little triad clusters where you do 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's in, scroll on the list of videos from Casino Guitars. Today, we're going to try to make it so that you guys, when you're playing triad shapes, and it doesn't really even have to be triads, whether you're using caged or you're using bar chords up and down the neck, I want you to be able to play like lead stuff in the same key wherever you are and not be stuck to that first shape. So, like when I was playing in the beginning, I was just kind of noodling around, and I was, instead of doing the clusters from last time, I was only using pretty much one chord shape. I was just using the F shape to do every sort of chord in the key of G. So I'm starting right here, 5, 4, 3, from the D string, 5th fret, G string, 4th fret, 3rd fret on the B string. That's my 1, the G. Going to the 2, which would be A minor, and I'm just gonna, the only thing I'm gonna do to change that shape is when I slide over to A, I'm gonna get rid of this note and bar it with my first finger, so it's gonna be 7, 5, 5, 7, 5, 5, that's A minor. Same thing, 2 frets over for B minor. That's the 3 in the key of G. There's the 4 is right there on, it goes 10, 9, 8 on those same strings. So you can see we're basing everything on the same shape. Going over to D, which is the 5 chord, it's going to be 12, 11, 10. And then going to E minor, if we want to, 14, 12, 12. If we really wanted to do the 7 chord, we could do the diminished thing where we go 16, 14, 13. And then end up on the G again, which would be, in this case, 17, 16, 15. So we got this. Just that is great practice with those clusters, and it gives you some of the minor chords, because we didn't talk about minor chords last time. You could practice that, arpeggiated, which just means picking it out. And obviously you don't have to do every chord every time. You can jump around. You might play 1, 2, 4, 5, or whatever progression you want to play. But here's what I want you guys to start seeing. If you're doing that and you're in the key of G, most people's go-to is going to be a pentatonic scale. And it might be that one right there on the 12th fret, which we think of as E minor, but is also G major. It might be the one up here, the octave lower, where it's on the open string first. It might be that. Everybody's probably familiar with that. But there's all this neck in between. Now, there's 5 shapes of the pentatonic scale. And I've got a pretty in-depth video of this on my channel, so go check that out, because we're going through it quickly today. But most people, I don't think, or I never thought through, why are there 5 shapes? It's because there's 5 notes. Which that's the octave, that's 6. I could just go exactly the same notes. And everywhere, so I could play that down in the first position, or I could go down from the second one. I could start from the 3rd note, start from the 4th note, and so on. You get the idea, right? So the reason there are 5 shapes is because you can start on the top string from any one of those notes and just carry on that pattern of notes. So what that means is, if you're on G, if you're doing that 1 chord, you've got a shape. You play it right. Right there, that's 3, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 4, 3, 5, 3, 5. It's touching the first one. with the 03, 02, 02, 02, 03, 03, and it's touching this one. When you slide over to your 2 chord, your A minor, you've got that thing. 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 4, 7, 5, 8, 5, 7. You slide over to your B minor and your C, and they're both right smack in the middle of what I call shape 4, which would be 7, 10, 7, 10, 7, 9, 7, 9, 8, 10, 7, 10. You do your D, you're in what I'd call shape 5, and that's just 10, 12, 10, 12, 9, 12, 9, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12. I'm flying through these because we're not to the point yet, and you can easily Google all this stuff or YouTube it or whatever you want to do. And then when you get to your E minor, you're right back into that octave, the 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15. So the first sort of level of this practice is you could literally just take those shapes that we talked about, that one shape, the one triad all the way down the neck. You're in the key of G, and just practice playing the G, and then a lick, and then A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor. If you wanted to do the diminished chord, and you've done the whole thing, and you've practiced a little lick, and you've practiced playing that shape all the way down the neck, you could start with just the shape. You could do that, and all you're doing is you're just connecting so that when you play that chord, and you're in the key of G, and these are all the pentatonic shapes in the key of G. And a couple times I didn't even use pentatonic shapes, I used diatonic stuff, so you can do that as well. But all you're doing is, like when I'm sitting here, I want to be able to visualize that scale above it. Now, here's the thing that I think a lot of beginner sort of, intermediate guitar players maybe don't realize, or maybe you've never put it together. But because all those shapes are the same pattern of 5 notes, they're just starting from a different note. The notes that are beside each other in every single shape, they're exactly the same. They never change. It's not like they put them in a cup and shake them up and throw them out there on the fretboard. Like, they're just rotating, one string at a time. So like if I'm in my first shape, and I play a lick like, that exact same lick is in the shape beside it on 2 other pairs of strings. So like on the first one, on the first shape, where I'm going the D string and the G string, which happens to be D, E, G, A. Second shape, it's D, E, G, A. Same thing on the third shape. Same thing, here's my D. Same thing. Back to where I started on the octave. So I think a really good, exercise is to play the triad. And just find the same lick at every spot. Then you start to really tie intervals to those different chords, and you can start to hear, to me, that's more like singing over a chord progression than just playing up and down a scale. And your ear starts to get trained whether you're doing it on purpose or not. Now, you might say, but Jonathan, I don't know the names of the notes very well. You really don't have to. If you start to look in the shapes, what you'll start to realize is there's always a spot where there's 2 strings that are together, and they are the strings before them. Well, they're not always together, but it's the 2 notes on the 2 adjacent strings, I guess you would say, where there are, it's not 1 step apart, it's a step and a half apart. So like in that first shape, it happens to be the 2 strings, the B string and the E string. It doesn't, it's going all the way from open B to D, open E to G, right? And anytime it falls on one of the high E's or the low E, obviously it's going to double itself. But if you just back up from that, you always have the major root, and then 1 string above that is that minor root. So those are the ones I'm using. So they happen to be on the first shape. In this scenario, they're on the D and the G string. On the second shape, they're on and they're at the bottom, so it's hard to see the pattern I'm talking about, but it's the B and the high E string. Then you come back to the third shape, it's on the A and the D. You come to the fourth shape, it's on the G and the B, but because of that third on the B string, because it's a different interval, you have to go over a fret. So it actually looks like this. It goes 7, 9, 8, 10. So on the fifth shape, it's the top two strings, the low E and the A. And then obviously the octave, you're back to it being on the two middle strings, the D and the G. But if you just find that to start with, it's like this roadmap. You'll start to put it together where, if you want to play the same lick, or maybe a theme on it like that, you know what I mean? And it can make your plan a little more interesting. It ties everything together. Before long, wherever you are, you play the chord and you're going to have the licks right underneath your fingers as well. So try that. Check it out. Just play around with it. It can be mechanical in the beginning, but then don't be afraid to try and make it musical. Jump around, but keep your fingers. You're not going to play a chord, and this simply, not musically, just for the sake of this exercise. You're not going to play a chord and then jump up here and play the lick. Wherever you play the chord, right there in that little, chunk, play the lick there too, and before long, you'll be really fluent on the whole fretboard, tying your triads to the pentatonic shapes in the key you're in, and it should be a lot of fun. So anyways, that obviously in the key of G. I hope you have fun with that. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you've got any tips or any exercises like this that might help somebody out in the comments. Let me know other lessons that you want to see. As always, thanks so much for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget our road to 100K. Wednesday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern time, we do our live streams. Almost every week. I think the giveaway will be next week. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you're commenting. As always, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.